anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a third grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this by chance, number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Now, this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives.
Good evening on the West Coast. Good evening in the mountains. Good evening in the Central. Good evening on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Reparationist Perspective, bringing you those Friedman hot topics and making the case for reparations. Making the case for weaponizing our vote, socializing our suffering. How y'all doing in Twitter, Facebook, ScrewTube? Thank you so much for joining yet another live for this evening. As I mentioned in my last space, I am catching you guys up on what was going down in the Twitter space last week while I was working out and walking out my final days of being censored by ScrewTube. So I want to share those spaces with you because there was some vital information being exchanged, and I really want you to hear from some other bright comrades in the tribe, in the movement for reparations. I really need for you to hear from them as they weigh in on some of the current events I weaponized to make the case for reparations and the weaponization of our vote and socializing our suffering. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce that video. I won't really be that active in the chat, but if I see you guys commenting in between cooking, I will absolutely come in and weigh in, okay? Thank you so much. Stand by. Let me stop this share and share that Twitter space with you right now. Thank you for joining the live. Well, this is a pre-recording, but you get what I'm saying. Stand by. Here we go.
Hi, DJC868. Can you hear me? Oh, Lord, I'm new to this, fam. Oh, Lord. Okay, we're going to try to give it a couple of minutes. Honey, I am a screw tube kind of sister. Hi, DJ Segwa. Okay, I see request. Requested too. Okay, let me see. How do I? Oh, approve and approve. Look at me cooking with gas. I love it.
Yes, I can hear you.
Wow. Hold on, guys.
Oh,
Let
my
me make sure I
God.
got the right one. Oh, no, no, no.
Hey, DJ, mute your mic.
That's not the one I meant. Sorry, guys. Let's take two on that. That was from yesterday. That was day one. Let me find day two. Just a second, family. Technical difficulties. Don't you dare suppress your vote. That's the one I want. So much for being here, family. Hi. Okay. Welcome, welcome, one and all. I'm not going to be labor because I got a couple of things I want to get through. I thought I'd have the energy to actually come back last night after going to the dentist to have my daughter's braces removed. But rocking with y'all for 3 hours in Twitter space as a novice was exhausting. I really had no energy. I'm so sorry. I was really overzealous. I wanted to get that third that bombshell that I wanted to share with you guys about from Jimmy Dore. I wanted to get that up and out. And I was 664 tune in on Twitter Space. I thank you guys for coming back. I'm going to just continue this series until we get more people that believe in weaponizing the vote. This is a very steep uphill battle, but every time you join my space, I'm going to be making a case for why we need I'm going to make the case for reparations, and I'm going to be making the case for weaponizing our vote and socializing our suffering. So thank you for being here. As per usual, I'm going to actually share my news stories and have you guys weigh in if I see any hands. I don't have Kite over here this afternoon. Not sure if he'll pop in, but the show must go on. Now, what I'm going to do after ScrewTube lifts this ban on my channel, they're censoring me horribly. They're shadow banning me. They don't want my voice to get out there. Anything that rocks against the Democrats, they take serious issue with. If, I talked against the pandemic, I, just don't hold my tongue on these issues because we're just being by and large lied to so very much. And I can't go for that. I've got to tell my people the truth and enlighten them and educate them on what I've been learning these past few years in this fight. So I want to thank you guys so much. Many of you helped me to get to 1,000 subs yesterday. And I'm so thankful to you. I doubt my channel will ever be monetized, given that it's shadow banned. They don't even want to give me credit that my people are hardly getting their notifications. But moving forward, once the ban on my channel is lifted, I'm going to be sharing and streaming this space with my YouTubers so that they can hear you guys weigh in, because what you've got to contribute is so very rich that I want my YouTubers who aren't in this space to hear from you as well. So please raise your hands, give me time, be patient. This is only my second day in these Twitter streets. So I just beg your patience, your love, your understanding, and I thank you for being here. I want to double back from yesterday. We had such an intense time unpacking a lot of the puckery. That's what I'll be doing over here, showing you guys straight no chaser. I listened to quite a few contributors whose videos I also share. And I was sharing about one of TD Hip Hop Media. Shout out to him. I was sharing one of his videos about
the Black farmers, and how Joe Crow, with 3 Ks, has decided to give Ukrainian neo-Nazi farmers $250 million, and he actually repealed the $15 million set aside as a part of a $9.2 billion COVID debt relief package. White folks were receiving $6.2 billion of that, and Hispanics, Latinas, was receiving $100 million. I'm going off the dome from yesterday. I do believe Native Americans got 76 million, and then the Asian farmers got 17.6 million, but we were on the bottom. Let's just be real clear, okay? We got 15 million of 9.2 billion set aside, and I was relaying to you guys about, 16 million, maybe 15 million acres that these white folks have killed us and stolen and chased us up off our farmland, that we're down to about 1% of the farmland. And now, it's getting foreclosed upon. Our farmers' lands are being foreclosed on because what happened was with Biden, Joe Crow, when he set aside that 9.2 billion in COVID debt relief, you had a lot of white and Asians, I think some Latinas, that actually appealed to the Supreme Court for what Biden had done. They claimed to be racist. You see, they claimed it was reverse racism, even though they were receiving, the white folks was receiving 6.2 billion, and the Latinas was receiving 100 million, and the Asians were receiving 17.6 million. We were receiving a paltry 15 million, and yet they decided to appeal this to the highest courts. And actually, after they appealed it to the highest courts, everything was stuck. The farmers couldn't get their money as they were supposed to, the Black farmers I'm speaking of. And then ultimately, Joe Crow has recently repealed it, as TD Hip Hop Media shared with us. Okay. And so I actually jumped to the topic of how the Latina community is taking over the South. The biggest portion of the South they're taking over right now with the 100 million they were bequeathed by our Freedman Bank Forum is North Carolina. Okay. So when I shared that with you guys, I got sidetracked because I had another point to make about the interview with the Black farmer that's kind of leading the charge against the government. He's been fighting for years to get some equity and some justice for the Black farmers. And sadly, it's meeting a dead end. And I would venture to say, family, it's because he's not making it lineage based. So I want to play for you the segment I failed to play for you yesterday with him speaking to MSNBC. So stand by, let me cue it up. Please raise your hand if you want to weigh in, and I'll get to you, as soon as I see it, okay? Thank you. Hold on, let me play this. I hope it's loud enough. Thank you for being here. Let me get to that video.
You looking so handsome in your cowboy hat this morning. Tell us what you have lost so far and what you are at risk of losing as long as this relief fund is mired in this resistance from white farmers and the banks.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And as I said on your show earlier, when Senator Lindsey Graham made those comments, he should be ashamed of himself, because I've been lobbying him for years about the plight of the Black farmers. We've lost millions of acres of land. We've lost our way of living, our livelihood. And the COVID relief spending bill that provided the $5 billion in debt relief, $1 billion for outreach and technical assistance, and the other $4 billion for debt relief, was a 30-year-old ask from myself and others. Even as I was promised debt relief in a settlement agreement, I still didn't get it after the Secretary of Agriculture told the local and county office to provide me with debt relief. I want to let the audience know it was white farmers who got basically all of the debt relief for the 30 years I was asking Congress and the courts to provide debt relief to Black farmers. White farmers got debt relief in this country with ease, and Black farmers like myself were denied the time and time again to get debt relief for this country. The stack has been stacked against us. We've been facing discrimination. As you noted, the banks who've been bailed out in this country were one of the very first to speak out against Black farmers getting debt relief in this country. So the government has failed us, the banks have failed us, and it's almost like 40 acres and a mule. We were promised these things. And every time there's a pot of money that's supposed to go to Black farmers or Black people in this country, we're told we have to wait. Last July at the White House, I was promised a meeting by President Biden. That hasn't happened. Since that time, we provided $50 billion in aid to Ukraine and other regions of the country, but we can't find a way to get the debt relief to Blacks and other farmers of color in a time that matters.
No more than 1 month after John Boyd's interview was aired on MSNBC, Biden not only continued to ignore Boyd, but then took it one step further by officially withdrawing his support for Black farmers. Now we'll discuss that through this press release on AP News titled, NBFA President Boyd releases official statement on President Biden's withdrawal of support for Black farmers. After fighting for debt relief for over 3 decades, Boyd was elated when the emergency relief for farmers of color was passed and signed into law by President Joe Biden last year in the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Boyd met with Biden during the South Carolina primaries to discuss the plight of Black farmers, and it was agreed upon that Biden would address Black farmer issues. Again, last July, Biden reaffirmed to Boyd he would have a FaceTime meeting with him to discuss the ongoing struggles and delay of America's Black farmers getting the long sought-after debt relief. What could be worse than having another president overturn legislation you enacted to help Black and other farmers of color during a pandemic? Well, here's the answer. Repealing your own legislation to take it away while they are being served foreclosure notices in a recession with the highest record of input costs in 40 years, while sending hundreds of millions of dollars in aid to Ukraine farmers. Now let's take.
Okay, family. I hope you heard that. Oh, great. I see one request. Let me let you weigh in. Let you weigh in after this thought. The challenge I'm having with this is that I get why we feel this need to include people of color. But when I ran the numbers down to you, you saw how paltry the portion value was. Now, we had about 950,000 Black farmers in 1920. As of 2017, that was down to 35,000. And so what I'm trying to share with you is how he fought for 30 years. And of that 9.2 billion, I stand corrected, the white farmers got 6.7 billion. Okay. Latinas got 100 million. Native Americans got 76 million. Asians got 17.6 million. And Black farmers, after Mr. John Boyd Jr. had been fighting for 30 years, got a paltry 15 million that's now been repealed. You see, what you have to understand, family, is that these white folks and Asians and TOC that appealed this for reverse racism to the highest courts would rather no one get a thing if that means we get a come up. Also, you have to realize, family, is you can't do anything based on race in this country. And this is why we had to fight tooth and nail once the governor had their picks down here on the California Reparations Task Force. Once they had their picks and the other elected officials had their picks, we had to fight with everything in us because they were setting us up for exactly what happened to Mr. John Boyd Jr. and those Black farmers. If these Pan-Africanists were able to prevail on race-based reparations or reparations based on racism and not the debt that is owed for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage, this is how these white folks set us up to fail. They allow these POC white supremacist oppressors into the country to deny us a penny. We had the least. Everybody else had the lion's share. And they'd rather take the lion's share from the others than to see the Black farmers who have suffered the worst harm of any of these groups before they would see them have a penny. Let me let you guys in. Hold on, I see a couple of requests. Okay. Let me try to get back to you all without losing it. There we go. Okay, let me let Phoenix Star speak. Hi, Phoenix. Hi, Schism. Let me Phoenix, Phoenix Star, I'm going to mute my mic and you are free to bless the mic. Stand by.
Hi, sis. You're so sweet. I just love you the most. Oh my God. But thank you for letting me weigh in. I just wanted to say that, someone needs to reach out to aka freedmen farmers, which is the terminology that should be used, and let them know that this, because they may not even be following what's going on in the nation of reparations and the need to use lineage, which is what I'm thinking, the new discovery of the need to use freedmen lineage, get things done. So I just hope that someone's reaching out, or some folks would be reaching out to the farmers to let them know that that has been the thing that has been blocking them, in addition to the other, blockage. But can I say this? Can I say, had this group of people, our freedmen farmers, just use the term American, how would that have gone over? And what does it mean when they made the bill for the funding and they named it for people of color? And then I guess they discovered that they couldn't use the term color and repealed it. So it's all really confusing. It's all unfortunate. And I just think that, there needs to be a coalition of folks that are reaching out to because obviously if you're a farmer and you're in the South, then you're rural, right? And we know from South has lack of access to internet, hence information, because we know that that's where a lot of our information is coming from now. So I just think that they need to be educated so that they can appeal those decisions and get the just and restorative justice that they need, because we need them to service us as we move through this movement. And we need farmers that we can trust. So yes, and the other groups are taking over the South. And we need to be having those discussions about land and everything as well. And as we are, but on a more mass scale in terms of us getting our own farmland, whether it's for the Great Migration or just to hold and have for our children. And I'll land there. So thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I appreciate you all.
Thank you so much for sharing. You're absolutely right, family. The grassroots needs to be talking to everyone, especially in big deals like this. It's so imperative that we exchange information, hence why Kite, DJ Segwan, thank you so much for joining, fam. If you want me to make you a co-host, I think I can do that, only if you're free to stay in the space and co-host it with me. I know you're very busy. And I'm getting the hang of this, praise God. Anyway, like I was saying, this is one of the reasons why I chose to, at the behest of Kite and so many others, come onto the Twitter space. I'm not here to trauma bond. I'm here to make the case for reparations and weaponizing the vote and socializing our suffering. Because when the Democrats have a trifecta, and I'm coming to you, Schism, I see you, fam. When they have a trifecta, we are the only ones in distress. I don't remember feeling this stressed out under Trump. And no one can point out to me how it was a sound decision for 86% of our electorate to unseat a covert and overt racist in office of 4 years with no record against American freedmen, with covert racist in office a combined 60 years between the two, with records against American freedmen several New York City blocks long. And so I had to start this space because we've got to think strategy. Staying home, nor a third party vote is strategy in the best interest of American freedmen. Because what happens when we stay home is that we leave the fate of our lineage to immigrants who seek to replace us and Crayola white supremacists who hate us. So we've got to take control of this voting process. And given that we're not getting tangibles from either party, the Democrats lie and the repugnant clans don't owe us. We're not their loyal voter base for 60 years. Okay. Then we have to look and protect what is in our best interest. Right now, immigration is our most imminent threat. We have got to get these borders closed so that the Blacks can start to get gainful employment like they once did. It's not happening with Joe Crow flooding the country, 200,000 illegal immigrants per month. And I let you guys hear yesterday how they were on Pelosi's head. They want citizenship right now, okay? Which means they'll have the right to vote, which means in addition to being neutralized economically, which means we can't pay for our politics the way they're able to, because they're getting everything I just shared with you. Their farmers were getting 100 million to American freedmen, US Black, 15 million. We've got to stop this madness, and the only way to do that is to close the borders. So the Freedmen voter strategy I came to was to find all your closed border candidates, party be damned, and vote for them at every level of government. That's the only way to get this to stop. This has been put on 100s since the Joe Crow administration. Let me take a breath and let Schism weigh in before he loses his thought, he or she. Stand by. Schism, take the mic. Bless the mic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm a she. I'm a her.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you for holding this space too. I just wanted to chime in because this decision, like, it really broke my heart, and I say that because I've been following the Black farmers' plight since the 90s. And as long as I remember in the 90s, whether some folks like Maxine Waters or not, but she was one of their strongest proponents, and she was out there going back for them. And I had thought that the end of that lawsuit had won them money outside of this so-called pandemic relief, because they had a lawsuit against the USDA for probably like 20 some years, maybe as long as the 30 years he's been fighting. And so it just breaks my heart. Even during the time when Oprah had the conflict with the beef industry, the Black farmers was out there, too, not just protesting, but also asking for money, because their crops, they were losing crops and they were losing cattle. And so they were denied then too. So to move forward, we assumed, especially here in California, that they were going to win that lawsuit and then get that money. And so for years, I've been contacting, Mr. Boyd, just talking to him, just as a person of concern. Because you go on their website, the number's there. He's easily accessible. I don't know about now, but I wanted to get a list of those Black farmers that were here in the state of California. So he ended up giving me a list, and let me know. And so move forward during the pandemic when Black businesses, especially in LA, and then Black food vendors, they wanted to also connect with Black farmers in order to be able to get some of their fruits, vegetables, and even beans, because some of these Black farmers, they put out beans, lentil beans, black eyed peas, black beans and stuff like that. You can go up to their farms and purchase some stuff too that they don't sell back to the markets. And that was another issue that they had. They have crops, but they couldn't yield a large crop to sell, in huge bulks and make a large profit to markets. So whatever they had left over, they were able to sell, to individuals such as myself. And so here in LA, there is a group of Black food vendors, and then just Black people in general is concerned about Black farmers, because we want to see their produce in some markets here, like Ralph's, like Vons, like Food for Less, like John's, like Albertsons, like Stater Brothers. And we don't see none of their fruit and vegetables. Is labels on those for when you pick up tomatoes, bananas, it'll tell you where it's from. And, a lot of us complained heavily to our markets too. Why aren't you getting some of the produce from, Black farmers? So, it breaks my heart. It does that we just seem like we just keep coming off on getting the short end of the stick. So how can we, rectify this to let folks know we need Black farmers, that not just the land, but also they produce in markets, so that that's how we can support them at farmers markets and even in the larger market food chain. So I don't know, hopefully we can, come up with something and to rectify this problem, because it just breaks my heart. It honestly does. And I appreciate the mic. Thank you.
Thank you so much for blessing the mic. You know, it is, it, you said a mouthful, sis, and I share your sentiment. I just feel like we are just surrounded by so much puckery. And like, in addition to having to raise our families while dealing with homelessness, the highest rates of homelessness and unemployment and underemployment, I feel like everybody needs to choose a lane and like make that their lane. Schism, you might want to consider being the one to make that your lane and rallying people to help you. That's what I feel like. We need different groups doing different things and mastering that. Uh, because it's just so much. It's very, very overwhelming. But at large, we need to become more politically educated, hence this space, hence you guys tuning in, which I'm so grateful. If you haven't subscribed to my Reparationist Perspective ScrewTube channel, they're supposed to be lifting the ban on my voice in about 4 days, maybe 3 more days. We'll see if that happens. In the meanwhile, thank God I've got, the capacity to bring people into this space and speak. But what we have to understand, family, is that voting blue, no matter who, without weaponizing the vote, is how we got here. We've been neutralized economically. And so it makes it hard for us to fight. And this is by design. Uh, Everybody likes to refer to it as benign neglect. No, the neglect is very intentional, and it's very much well thought out and very planned. And so since we've been neutralized economically, now they're coming for the vote. As you see, we got a CBC that doesn't even raise these issues. I've not heard not one member of the Congressional Black Caucus talk about this. And yet, when the kids were, discriminated against at Sesame Place, I saw where they were, up in arms about that. But this, you got nothing but crickets. Let me take a breath. I see Phoenix Star's hand. Go ahead, sis. Bless the mic.
Hi, thank you again. I'm gonna drop off in a minute because I have a meeting, but I just wanted to say, we know that the congressional, I'm just gonna work backwards, the Congressional Black Caucus, they're not even us. So they're going to neglect us because they're not from us and they're not, fighting for us. So, also, I just want to say in our fight, and we have to change our language. We cannot use black anymore. And we know, and we know this. I know that that's just something that we hold true and dear to our heart. And we're stuck to the color aspect of it. And not even just that, but it's our lineage as well. But when we're having these discussions and conversations and making these moves, we can't use it as we see with the farmers, the freedmen farmers. So we just have to really just start changing that mindset and changing our language and start using it more like that, because that's the only way we're going to get ahead, and using our lineage. And I know Black American is our lineage, but it's not going to get us to where we need to be. So I'll just land there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You're so right, Phoenix Star. American Freedman is definitely new to our collective, and it's going to take a minute to get acclimated, but you're absolutely right. Uh, legally and constitutionally, that's who we are, and that's how we identify, and that's why uh, these white folks love to call us all these other things, but where we get paid. The justice claim is tied to American freedmen, okay? It's not tied to FBA, B1, ADOX, ADOS, BADOX. It's not tied to that. Although we all bleed chattel slavery, American freedmen is in the Constitution. It was a freedmen's foreign bank that they pillaged and robbed. Everything we got coming to us is tied to that. And so what Phoenix Star is speaking to is the necessity for data disaggregation and identifying as the truth of who we are, the final frontier, if you will, after everything we've been called. That is who we are. And it's okay if you like to identify as the others, but what we need to get into the habit of is this data disaggregation, because flat black is really crippling us. We're about 86% of the population, and the Black immigrants are around 14%. And yet, out here in California, in a 2004 to 2014 Color of Wealth LA report, free PDF download if you want to check my math, um, the African immigrants were 333% wealthier, more liquid than US Black. In other words, they were 60,000 liquid back in 2004 to 2014 to our 200 liquid. I shared with you yesterday that although we're 44% degree to their 56% degree at that time, mind you, we're now in 2022, so it's even the gap is even more egregious in 2022. But at that time, we were 44% degree to their 56% degree, and yet their median income was 115,000 to our 53,500. And as I mentioned to you about the Hispanics, whom the Latina farmers got 100 million as farmers compared to our U.S. Black American freedmen farmers, they got a paltry 15 million. Out here in that same report, they were 17% degree to our 44% degree. And yet they were within 3,500 of our median income at 50,000. Now, when you look up the math in 22, they have higher rates of employment than we do, and their salaries are about 10K higher than ours. So this is what the Democrats have done. And all we continue to do is blindly go to the polls. So back to my earlier point, and I'm coming to you. Who's my baby over here? Friedman. Is this Amaru? I think so, yes. Okay, I'm coming to you, fam. I just saw it. I don't tend to look at the screen when I'm speaking, but let me go back and land here before I let Amaru speak. Like I was saying, family, when you vote blue, you're voting for our replacement. You're voting for state-sanctioned executions of unarmed Black men, women, and children. You're voting for these immigrants to get our reparations and our protections, and these white folks to continue to line their pockets. And I thank you so much for joining me as I make the case for reparations and the necessity to weaponize the vote and to socialize our suffering. I'll take a breath and let Amaru bless the mic. Thank you.
Hey, appreciate that, Sister Angela. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm in the country, so. But no, I just want to tap back in
We
on.
can hear you.
Cool. I just want to speak about the Congressional Black Caucuses and how they've been actively oppressing and suppressing our voice, even when it comes to mass immigration. If y'all remember, several years back, the group Fair Immigration had went to the Congressional Black Caucuses and told them that immigration is hurting Black Americans disproportionately, simply because employers wanted to hire the cheap labor. They did not want to hire Black Americans because they know they had to pay us what we weigh. And the Black Caucuses basically told them that that's racist. Y'all being racist. So not only not only are they using our political clout, but they use our political clout against us in order for employers to still look over us when it came to the job market. Another thing about the Congressional Black Caucuses is anytime that it is like during the whole 1990s, during the whole crack epidemic or whatnot, when they signed on with Jim Crow Joe Biden, the 1992 crime bill, they knew the effects of this crime bill and what it was going to do to our community. But they was more focused on getting, and we've seen it in the 80s and 90s, they was more focused on getting more immigrants from the diaspora or the continental. You see what I'm saying? So the Congressional Black Caucuses has always been actively against hurting us and hurting our communities, but yet no one is really putting fire on them. You know, every last one of them is getting primaried in 2022, or should be primary in 22, but every one of them is up for a vote in 2022 and 2024. You know, I'm not in a Congressional Black Caucus area to where I can vote them sons of bitches out because they got to go. Plus, they often brag about they only represent 17 million of us. So they're not really fully representing us as a people in the United States. So therefore, we're walking around with no representation in our own country. We get taxed and we don't have no taxation without representation. But yet, anytime it comes to something that's supposed to come to us, they'll be in the forefront as if they are representing us. So I appreciate this room again. That's why I jumped on the stage. Anytime somebody's talking about weaponizing the vote, not just sitting the fuck out, that's retarded. We need to get in there. We need to make our voices be heard. We need to remove people who's not doing what they're supposed to be doing for us, by us, and presenting us with tangibles. We're not supposed to be sitting at home looking silly and letting other groups, you know what I'm saying, use their political clout in order to move the needle for their group. You know, at this point, at this present point in time, we've been rocking with the Dems for 6 decades, and this sons of bitches done nothing but destroy our community. So we have to punish them. We have to vote them out. Vote for who? Vote for whoever's not in fucking office right now. That's what I say. But I appreciate your room, sis.
We have to vote to close these borders, family. My strategy is real specific. It's not written. I need y'all to sound the alarm. I need y'all to help my message go viral, help my channel go viral, you see. That's what you guys have done to get me to 1,000 subs, despite Racebook and ScrewTube really trying to silence me. And I'm grateful to each and every one of you. But when this space ends, it's being recorded. You guys have got to share the information to educate the others. But I'm real specific about this. And I prayed about it to my inner Christ. And I asked for direction, you know. You guys know that you are the face of God, the voice of God, and the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. That's who you are. And so it is on us to go within and to find solutions. And the best one I've got is for us to vote closed border candidates, party be damned, and reparations candidates like Marcel Dixon. Now, speaking of which, we know the Democrats are going to rob him. We know they are because they have. But that's not what we're paying to support Marcel for. We're paying to keep reparations on their necks like their proverbial boots are on ours. When you donate to his campaign and he's able to run for Congress, it keeps reparations at the forefront because these Democrats, they're very, very invested in quieting this fight. And we are so beautiful and so mighty that we have weaponized social media to make this such a hot topic that it's on every major news outlet. Other groups all over the world are fighting. You know, we have really made an impact because we will not give in. We won't give up. We won't give out. So do know that not only do your dollars help him to fund his campaign, it keeps reparations alive. I don't know any candidates running that throws down on that mic like Greg Marcel Dixon. So I need you to remember him, please. I need you to not only pour into his campaign, I shared with you yesterday his Cash App. This brother is literally, he won't tell y'all this, but I'm going to tell you because I know him personally and I love him, like y'all love him. He's using his retirement because they are discriminating against him in the workforce. He's been a stellar teacher in South Carolina until they would not renew his contract because he's fighting for us. So just like Martin Luther King Jr. had sponsors in the community, just like Malcolm X had sponsors until he pissed off the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, exposing, his puckery. Let's keep it a buck. It's on us to support and lift up the people that we want in Congress. Because until we fill that Congress with the likes of Greg Marcel Dixon, we got nothing coming. Amaru and Phoenix Star just shared with you the Congressional Black Caucuses. I love it. I'm stealing it. I'm stealing it. And you can't stop me, Amaru. They are predominantly made up of immigrants who, guess what, are listening to everything we do, family. You want to know how I know that? Because the freed congressional Black caucuses that are retiring are being replaced with Black immigrants who are scrubbing where they herald from. Oh, yes, I've researched it and I've talked about it. In any myriad of those 304 videos, I've got over at ScrewTube before they shut me down. Okay, so listen, that's what they're doing because why? We have weaponized social media and they can't lie and say they don't know that we want to end qualified immunity and we demand reparations. You can't lie because we won't stop talking about it. And now they know we want to disaggregate Blackness so that all Blacks, especially those who descend from slave traders, hello, Africa, hello, Nigeria, read the article. My great-grandfather was a slave trader, New York Times. I'm not making this up. They would like to whitewash the history and have you to believe that all of us were kidnapped. False. Not true. Oh, hold on, guys. Other folks are requesting to speak. Hi, Lisa.
Y'all know I'm a chatty Cathy. I eventually look down, but when I'm in my head, I just kind of look out. Anyway, I digress. I could go a million different ways, but I thank you guys for blessing the mic. I want to read you this last piece before I get to Joe Crow hiring racist to be judges in the superior courts of DC. That was supposed to be the main event yesterday. And I ran out of time because my baby girl pulled up. She had to get to the dentist, get those braces off. And those teeth are just, she is ready for her Colgate commercial, y'all. Just absolutely beautiful. Okay, so I want to read you this last little piece. Or should I play titty hip hop? Let me read it to you because I didn't ask permission. Oh, he won't mind. Just a second. I'm going to let him tell it. Hold on. It's just a little bit more. Stand by.
Take a quick pause from this article and pivot over to this statement released on USAID.gov titled, "The United States Announces $100 million Ukraine Agriculture Resistance Initiative." The United States, through the U.S. Agency of International Development, has established a $100 million agriculture resilience initiative, Ukraine, to bolster Ukrainian agriculture exports and to help alleviate the global food security crisis exacerbated by Putin's brutal war on Ukraine. AGRI Ukraine will target Ukraine's immediate agriculture export challenges while simultaneously supporting the wider needs of Ukraine's agriculture sector by bolstering Ukraine's continued production of agriculture commodities through 2023. The initiative will increase Ukraine's farmers' access to critical agricultural inputs, including seeds, fertilizers, equipment, and pesticides, enhance Ukrainian infrastructure capacity and capability to efficiently export agricultural goods, and here's the important part, increase farmers' access to financing. I repeat, increase farmers' access to financing and expand the capacity of Ukrainian business to dry and temporarily store and process agricultural commodities. But wait, there's more. U.S. aid seeks to raise an additional $150 million for the initiative from fellow donors and the private sector with an overall target of $250 million. Wow. So while Black farmers are on the verge of going extinct, Joe Biden found a way to get Ukrainian farmers $250 million. Biden can get, and I quote, fellow donors and the private sector to contribute an additional $150 million to aid Ukrainian farmers. But when it comes to Black farmers, well, I would help you guys out, but that would be unconstitutional. Sorry. Now, hold on, wait a minute, just wait a minute. Before you can even ask me the question in the comment section that I know is going to follow up, I'll ask it for you. Well, then what are you saying? Are you saying we should vote Republican? It's not like they've done anything for us either. Now, before I even begin to answer that question, can we agree that the first step is to stop voting blue no matter who? Can we at least agree on that? Can we agree that the first thing that we must do is immediately withdraw all support for the Democratic Party? The party that has been giving you their behind a kiss for the last 58 years, that you've been voting for them religiously to the tune of 85 to 90%? You see, if we can't agree on that, then I'll be wasting my breath trying to give you instructions that you're not going to follow, because you'll always find a reason, regardless of how illogical it is, to vote Democrat the moment you step into that voting booth. So you let me know in the comment section. Are we done?
Okay. I just love Titty Hip Hop Media. You guys make sure you like, share, subscribe his stuff. He is a Haitian immigrant who is fighting harder than a lot of freed Blacks for our reparations exclusively. He's not expecting a dime of it, but I love his content. So please support the brother. Here I am borrowing from him because he just helps me to make the case for closed border candidates and reparations candidates only. And like I said, we must show up in Obama-style numbers.
Okay, I see you, Lisa. I'm going to let you speak. I'm going to land momentarily. We must show up in Obama style numbers to show to bring these Democrats to their knees. And that's another reason to go out and support and vote is to show the Democrats that we did it. Staying home is what they expect, but they don't expect us to show up in Obama style numbers for closed border candidates at every branch in the midterms and come the generals. For several election cycles, family, this is not something one and done for the midterms. We have to show them, bring them to their knees if we ever expect them to work for us. And right now, just like they've neutralized us economically, they're coming for the vote. That's why they're flooding the country with all these immigrants. So our vote won't even matter. They cannot stand the fact that we're the ones that make or break whether or not they have an administration at all. And I'm saying let's weaponize that. Go ahead, Lisa. Bless the mic, my love.
Hello, everyone. Angela, I have to give you, I love you. And the first time that I ever heard from you was through Shirley Husar, that I have to give a shout out to. Secondly, I don't think our people understand that no matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, that party affiliation does not matter because a lot of people don't understand voters' rights. You could choose whoever you want when you want. And the time now is for us to pivot to the Republicans because they don't want illegal in America. And we shouldn't want it either. We should want the border walls to go up, like Trump said. I'm a Trump supporter. I don't care what nobody said. Okay. The man speaks straightforward, bluntly, what he feels, and that does not bother me. Okay. Sticks and stones may break your bones. But name calling? Come on now. I'm 59 years old. I don't know how old anybody else is, but grow the hell up. Our ancestors started as Republicans because at least they knew what they was coming up against. The Democrats, I can't stand them. And we still in the burning house? What's wrong with us? Blind. Oh, I'm scared of the orange man. Really? He didn't do anything to us. Wake the fuck up. I'm sorry. But I mean it. I'm done. Third thing, you gotta do the research. Okay, they want to stay Democrat, tell them stay Democrat. But you need to follow the agenda. Do you want these people to come in and wipe us out? Or do you want the respect that we deserve? That's all I have to say.
Well, I love you too, sis, black and strong. I thank you for blessing the mic. You know, um, there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. I do want the um, listeners to understand that, yes, we were once Repugnant Klan. Both parties suck, in my humble opinion. Both parties don't mean us no good. And I really want all of us, in addition to voting for closed border candidates, I want us to turn away from the Democratic registration and be registered as an independent like me. And many of us in this thread, I'm sure, are independent.
I am too. I am too. And I'll always remain independent.
Yes, 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 yes.
Nobody
So,
controls me.
amen to that. And so, as an independent, then you can vote in your best interest. And Lisa is absolutely right. Uh, of
Local,
all
state,
the,
and federal.
yes, ma'am, you're absolutely right. And what you have to understand, family, is we've been taught incorrectly. This is how we became the anchor of this country's capitalism. We've been, just told by our parents. I remember when I first started
Mm-hmm.
voting, I was just told to go vote Democrat. I
Mm-hmm.
never understood, what that entailed or what it involved. I didn't wise up until Barack Obama. I was all happy. I went to the first inauguration. I cried. I told my daughter how amazing it was that she would have a Black president, that she could say was in existence while she was yet knee high to a gatepost. It was just, we just celebrated as if we had just been emancipated. Okay. And come to find out, he wasn't even American freedman. He descends from slave owners and a
Mm-mm.
Kenyan African dad. He's not one of us. And so everything after his second term
Can
came
I
into
ask a question?
Sure.
Where is Michael Robinson?
Who's Michael Robinson?
Michelle, so-called brother.
Michael Robinson is my brother.
No, Michelle Robinson Obama. Okay, I'm not slow.
Well, I am.
Okay, no, you're not. I'm very deep. People don't want to go straight into the rabbit hole to find out the truth. Why did
Well,
Obama I'm sorry, but his gay ass put LGBT, whatever, X, Y, and Z, and QI, whatever. Why was he fighting for that? Why he's putting us down? Really?
I don't
We
know,
need to
Lisa.
ask. No, but we need to ask these questions. We
Well,
need to research. Look, I don't care if you the color of me. It does not make you straight because you the color of me. It makes
right.
you questionable.
Well,
And
Lisa,
another thing, I got one more thing to say.
no, you don't. But go
Yes,
ahead.
I got many, but one more. Why, when Obama got into office with Biden as vice president, we became the murderous capital under him to be shot down and killed. And now Biden, part two, is doing the same thing. I got a problem with that. I hate Biden and I hate Obama. Okay.
I overstand, sis. I really, really do. If you
Anybody
could,
want to kill my people of their innocence, I got a problem with you. I'm about justice. I'm a Libra. I'm New Jersey, so I'm very close to New York.
right.
Remember Sean Bell? I remember that. You know what I really remember? When I was 16 years old in Orange, New Jersey, and my schoolmate name was Daryl Walker. He didn't make graduation because the orange cops in New Jersey killed him because of a shiny cell phone case. They thought, oh, it's gone. It's this. No, no. And I have a problem with that because I still remember he was my classmate. And every killing I justify. After that, I have a problem with that. And I want justice to prevail. So I don't take any killing of our people lightly at all. I got a problem with these invaders in our homeland. This is our home. I am not African American. I am a Negro American. And fuck Obama and him trying to erase us. I understand freedmen. I understand everything. But we are the real Jew, Israelites. Not Jewish. Fuck that Holocaust. What about our Holocaust? Here in our land, I'm tired of this shit. I'm really tired. And Trump was right. If sticks and stones break your stupid bones, then you are not a warrior. I don't give a fuck about name calling. I care about justice. I'm a Libra, and this shit is not balanced. I'm also with a Scorpio rising, and I want you all taken down. People say, oh, my kids is not supposed to die before me as a parent. Guess what? The Most High said, I'm taking your asses out. And I'm starting with your children. Because he don't want this unrighteousness to continue anymore. And I don't either. Wipe them out. If the invaders got a problem, go back to where you the fuck came from. Because we're not the problem. The problem is you listen to these liars about us and you don't try to get to know us. I don't give a fuck about Africa. I don't give a fuck about where you come from if you're not going to respect us. Kick their asses. Period.
Oh, sis, you said a lot. I feel your pain. I share your pain. I share your frustration. Uh, it puts James Baldwin on my mind. To wake up Black in this country with 3 Ks is to be in a constant state of rage. And my heart goes out to you and our line. But we are in this fight to do exactly as you have intimated on behalf of the ancestors who fuel us, who are with us, despite everything that has been leveled at us from the time we were sold into slavery, to work this land and to build the wealthiest country in the known world. That's what we come from. And yes, Negro is on my birth certificate too. But I do want to share. I'm not getting into whether or not people are LGBTQIAXYZ. I do get that there is a whole agenda. My point in bringing up Barack Obama was to just share how I got here in this fight for reparations and for the weaponization of our vote and the socialization of our suffering. If you wouldn't mind muting your mic, Lisa, because I got some other folks I got to let bless the mic. I thank you so much for your contribution. I think everybody in the room felt that. I've had my moments in Twitter space melting down the same way. And guess what? In this space, you are free to have meltdowns. You're amongst family. This is your tribe. This is your tribe. So you're safe with us. But I was trying to say that when I saw Barack Obama do absolutely nothing for those of us
American freedmen, Negro Americans, however you want to identify, as long as you bleed for those of us who descend from U.S. chattel slavery. We were the ones to deliver him not once, but twice. And as a side note, what I found out was that if the white folks are going left, you got to go right. When you look at, and this is what I'm going to deal with tomorrow, so I'm not going, unravel it in this space right now because I'm running out of time and I still have to get to my main event from yesterday. But when you see these white folks loving it, that's a hint and a half for your ass to run the opposite direction. After Barack Obama did nothing for American freedmen but create more hardship for us when he bailed out the banks and Wall Street, and he failed intentionally to put regulations and audits on those banks to guarantee they were lending to us. That's when it started to dawn on me. This was white folks' handpicked selection. This was another way, yet another way the Democrats got us to sheepwalk to the polls. When he won Iowa, that was a hint and a half for our asses to run the opposite direction. But like many of us, we were way too green to politics to understand that we should have been running in the opposite direction. We had no clue. We should have been sounding the alarm. But the straw that broke the camel's back for me is when he said no to reparations. Oh my God. It was just like a flashback to the movie Django. That's what's like, what? That's when it was solidified for me that white folks hired him to get us to sheepwalk to the polls so the Democrats would hold a trifecta. And so I'm just so grateful because I started working Bernie Sanders' campaign. That's when I started listening to YC and getting politically educated. That's when I met my tribe, which is many of you in this feed. Our humble beginnings. And so it is imperative that each one teach one, that we share these type of spaces once the recording goes up. Because we need education so that we can understand that every time we vote blue, no matter who, the puckery I'm sharing with you and in those 300 videos over on ScrewTube, that's what we're voting for. We're voting for our own replacement. I was in Carson yesterday with my daughter in the grocery store. I barely saw any blacks. This is Carson Compton, Southern California, if you know it. This is where blacks dominated at one time. We have been gentrified out. I was on my daughter's dad's block, beautiful block of, homes that are now valued at around $1 million. Asians were walking in the neighborhood. I was mortified, clutching my invisible pearls. So I'm going to just take a breath and let Kelly weigh in and bless the mic before I get into my main event from yesterday. Okay, stand by. Go ahead and bless the mic, Kelly.
Okay. Hey, Angela, and hi to the room. Yay, Angela. I'm so glad you're back. And actually, I'm glad that you're finally on Twitter Spaces. I was waiting for you to come over. I don't know what was going on. But you're here. Yeah, right. And tell your beautiful daughter, congratulations. I saw the pictures on Facebook. But anyway, what I was going to say, and, and I don't want to be insensitive to Miss Lisa, because I do feel I feel where you're coming from. I'm angry like that all the time. I can guarantee you I am. I think luckily I just don't take drugs to try to mask it because I don't know how I get through every day. But I'll say this as far as with weaponizing the vote. I agree to weaponize the vote, whatever that looks like for anyone, without telling them, it transcends party affiliation. And then going back to Mr. Obama, since we're there, I'm sorry, I lost track because I got so lost in what Miss Lisa was saying. What did it for me was when the situation in Ferguson happened And all he did, along with Eric Holder and all these Black folks, had this.
You're breaking up, sis. I can't hear you.
Uh-oh. Okay. So all he did was come back with.
That's better.
Excuse me?
I said that's much better. Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. I'm sorry. Yes. I'm sorry because I'm going to pick up my child from school. So he came back with a measly old high school report of patterns and practice. And before that, I believe when everything was going on with Trayvon Martin, all he did was just get on TV and talk about, I could be Trayvon. I look like him. And he did all this symbolic talking and then signed a bill helping the police. And I thought, what is wrong with this man? I couldn't get it. And I was so angry. I was just so mad. I thought, that's it. I'm done. And I've been done ever since. Even before anybody came up with down ballot, or before I even knew what the heck that was, that's what I was doing, and didn't realize that that's what I was doing. And it crossed party lines. It was just down ballot of whoever it was that I felt was doing something for me and mine, meaning my people. So I was doing that way back before, right around the time when Hillary and Trump were running against each other. And so I'm saying that to say this is that our survival should not be up to a vote. And I am quoting TBA on that. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm just stealing his lines, but it's profound in what he's saying. Our survival is not up for a vote. And at the same time, there are smaller, and I'm saying this, Angela, so you can possibly speak to this and maybe at some other time, that the glitch, or where the rubber meets the road, where there are some people that do not want to vote because they see smaller groups who barely turn out to vote, but are always remembered, always thought of whenever there's a check being cut from the White House, if there's a bill, if there's a this, if there's a that. And so maybe they are starting to vote a little more now, but they're still not doing it in large numbers. And that needs to be spoken to, because that's what people, I believe, I'm not trying to speak for all of our people, but I am saying that they're seeing that. So they're like, well, what the hell are they telling us to vote like our lives depended on it, when people don't even have to come out of their houses down the street and they're thought of? And so I wanted to put that out there. And then I also wanted to say that in the midst of our or California, and congratulations to them, because I'm in Nevada and we follow what you guys are doing really heavy, because a lot of the people from California are coming here. So we have different things in line that, to have our political officials adopt as bills, as their bill draft requests in the door when our legislation opens up in 2023. So, but I'm also want to say this: in the midst of all of our disaggregation and separating ourselves out, lineage based wise, I would beg anyone in the near future to push for the disaggregation of the Latino community, because they are a group based on just their language. And if that's the case, then why aren't we all just one big group because everybody speaks English? And the way that they have culminated from Cubans to Mexicans to Hondurans to Dominicans to Puerto Ricans to Guatemalans to whatever it is that you want to put on that, they've all are lumped together because they speak Spanish. And I think that in the throes, or in the eyes of quote unquote voting rights and voting, vote fairness, I think those numbers need to be disaggregated as well, so that everybody can really see who's voting for who. And in the words of Angela, I will take a breath, because that's where I got it from. And I say it all the time in spaces: by peace.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for blessing the mic. My strategy is real specific, and people can do with it what they may. But I think that a lot of these new Black media spokespersons with larger platforms than mine, whom some of their content I really like, but I feel it's reckless
to tell us not to go out here and vote. I don't believe in suppressing our own vote. And if that didn't matter, why are the Democrats flooding the country with immigrants to neutralize our vote? And why are the Republicans doing a bunch of gerrymandering and all kind of nonsense and foolishness, redistricting and all this kind of stuff, if our vote did not matter? And so what you find is, yes, these other groups are starting to vote. And guess what they're starting to vote more for? The Democrats. And why is that? Because they're giving them our reparations and protections. These immigrants, the Hispanics, were beneath us. Now they're above us. I just shared yesterday about the Freedmen's Bank Forum, giving them $100 million, a Latina-run, owned and operated credit union in North Carolina. And Raul Pasteur, I think that was the man's name, who was speaking on their behalf, was grateful that his credit union is now sitting close to $1 billion, thanks to $100 million being earmarked from our Freedmen's Bank Forum and gifted to his bank. Which, oh, by the way, they had enough resources from about 100,000. I think he's got 100,000 people banking with him from 136 ethnicities, 136 countries, representing this credit union, beating the brakes off of the black bank, mechanical farmers, I think the gentleman said, who got nothing from the Freedmen Bank Forum. And the one Maryland bank that I know of got about, I want to say 70 million. And has any of these black banks contacted, black folks to get this money in their hands? No. I tried calling around, myself and Phoenix Star. We were trying to find the money. Nobody had any answers, you see. And so what happens is when we're politically lazy and we decide to not exercise this vote, what we're pretty much saying is that it's okay for immigrants who seek to replace me and Crayola, white supremacists who hate me to decide the fate of my line. And so for me, voting has become the revolution. And I'm saying to weaponize the vote and socialize the suffering. Well, what do you mean by that, reparationist perspective? I'm glad you asked. Weaponizing the vote means the Democrats lie about tangibles and the Republicans don't owe us. What is the thing that is the most imminent threat to our employment numbers, which impacts everything else? Immigration. Okay? So, that's what I came up with in prayer. I appealed to my inner Christ, and this is what I came up with after we were told to vote Democrat down the ticket by folks who call themselves leader of the grassroots reparations movement. They're YouTubers. And so folks ran out here and did just that from the top of the ticket to the bottom, and that's how we got Biden. At least the contribution from the grassroots that did not understand what the hell they were doing at the polls. So I prayed over something simple. And the simplicity in it is vote closed border and reparationist candidates only. Period, full stop. And definitely donate to the reparations candidates that are running at every branch of government. Okay, that's what we need to be doing, because even with Greg Marcel Dixon, the Democrats are going to cheat. They cheated Tamara Johnson-Shealy. I see her on the stage. Thank you for joining, sis. And they robbed Marcel. And so I'm saying that when we contribute to their campaigns, we're contributing to people who are running on reparations, who are fighting for us. And so they keep reparations front and center. And when we show to the polls and we weaponize the vote by voting closed border Congress, which would be predominantly Republican, but we need to grow the backbone and the cojones of our ancestors who knew when to pivot from the Republicans for a little bit of civil rights and affirmative action. The boomers are sitting lovely because, by and large, not all, because they were able to take advantage when affirmative action exclusively served us. Now, white women, LGBTQIA men, white men, and immigrants, by and large, benefit from the affirmative action our ancestors fought and died for. And so, what you see the Democrats being famous for is weaponizing our never ending Holocaust for the come up in the back for immigrants and to line their own pockets. And I'm saying we cannot afford to stay home for no more elections. We can't afford to exercise the right to be politically lazy. We must get engaged because we've got a lineage to save. And those of us that know better must do better. I want the Democrats to see us defect from the Democratic Party by claiming independent and showing to the polls to vote for closed border Congress. Vote for reparations candidates. And so that's what I got in prayer. I didn't just, run out here, and I know clearly what I was told in the seat of my soul when I prayed about a quick solution, something faster than having everybody migrate back down south to be rendered powerless, because that's happening already. We are the majority in a lot of those cities, have no power. Case in point, Atlanta. They're about to bring a whole militarized training ground. Who do you think is going to be the target practice in Atlanta? I'm going to bring you that one probably tomorrow. We're going to unpack that. Like I said, this Twitter space, yes. You know what? It took me so long to get here because I've been in other spaces and I don't feel my voice was respected. I was getting cut off. Folks don't want to hear about voting closed border candidates. They want to continue to sheepwalk to the polls, voting this blue shit, and I'm done with it. Folks want me to have conversations. Why don't you call up your officials? What the puck for? We tried that with HR 40 to get that decimated. Nobody returns our calls. They won't even let us have a seat at our own reparations table. They'll take a couple of non-threatening edits. But the edit that really matters, which is the cash, they don't want to hear from us. So I am done talking. It's time to be revolutionary at these polls, and we need all hands on deck. And Kite, shout out to him and several other people. When are you starting this place? And thanks to ScrewTube, because they shut me down. And my subs over there waited 2 hours for a live that I could see them chatting on, but they couldn't see or hear me. So I said, let me outsmart ScrewTube the way I had to establish a new page in Facebook and come over to Twitter Space. And I'm so happy I did. This is just my second time. I'm not seasoned at this at all, but the broadcast must go on. Hold on. I see a couple of people trying to get in. Okay, you guys know to raise your hands to speak. I was born to talk. Let me scroll, because trying to manage both is a lot for your sister from another mister. Okay, but I'm here and y'all here, and I'm grateful to you. Okay, I think Kite is putting stuff up there for you guys to check out in the Jumbotron. I'll learn how to use it, y'all. Baby steps. I'm just grateful that on day 2, I haven't disconnected the live. Anywho, let's move on with the rest. My final topic for today, because I've got to cook my child's dinner. She'll be coming from track practice soon. And she wants these honey sriracha wings, y'all. I found these wings, this wing, honey sriracha. Y'all need to look it up. It's on ScrewTube. Mouth watering, yum, yum, yum. So I have to fix those for her and her Caesar salad after practice. So let me get into my next topic. I think I got 2 more things to share, and you guys naturally raise your hands if you want to weigh in, okay? The next thing I'm going to share is shout out to Jimmy Dore. He's talking about Joe Crow being worse than Trump. And he makes the case very well in this segment he did. Darn it, did I lose my... Oh, God. I had it all queued up. Hold on one second, guys. I had it all queued up. and I don't know what happened to it. I try to cue these things up so I don't take all day. Oh, there it is. Hold on. Okay, it's there, y'all. It's queued up. So, anywho, remember when folks were swearing we had to vote Democrats because there was this huge concern about these very racist judges that Trump was going to install? Remember that? How they do anything. They play all these freaking tricks to get us sheep walking to the polls. Well, Jimmy Dore did a segment on Biden, Joe Crow's recent picks, and the information he imparted is horrific. Let me share with you. I hope y'all can still hear me. I'm over here. I didn't erase you. Yeah, the mic is still going. So I want to share with you a couple of screenshots from Jimmy Dore, because I don't like to play people's entire videos when I don't have permission. Because I would like it if someone asked me in advance of sharing my whole video. So I'm going to read to you. Let me get my Walmart reader, y'all. And then I'm going to play you a snippet of what Jimmy Dore had to say. And then we're going to get to this $37 billion that Joe Crow has asked Congress to bring in more militarized police to execute us by state sanction in our communities to gentrify us out. So Jimmy Dore did this excellent broadcast. I listen to a lot of people. I listen to Fox. I listen to conservative news outlets and things of this nature. I'm not just totally on the new black media. I like to hear the purview from all sides. So Jimmy Dore is a Jewish guy, and he's got his own broadcast. He's a comedian. He does political comedy, but he also is very much left-leaning liberal. But oftentimes he gets it right as far as I'm concerned. So he shares that Biden nominates 3 new judges to the DC courts. The president nominated V.J. Shanker to the DC Court of Appeals. Now I'm going to be reading and commenting in between, so bear with me. Raise your hands. I can't see you right now, but I'll come back. Not to fret. The president nominated V.J. Shanker to the D.C. Court of Appeals. Now, Shanker is the deputy chief of the appellate section in the criminal division of the Justice Department, where he has worked since 2005. He also nominated Laura Crane and Veronica Sanchez. This is what This is what I've been talking about. When we stay at home, the immigrants take it over at every branch of government. Okay? Laura Sanchez is a prosecutor. We know how these prosecutors are. Hello, Kabami. This is why she was 4th in her own presidential race and eventually had to bow out because she could not get support out here in these California streets. Because we will never forgive her for all of the brothers and sisters on lockdown for nonviolent offenses, which was the majority of her cases as a prosecutor here. And we'll especially never forget Mitrice Richardson. Look up that story, family. In effect, she promised the dad that she would bring those race soldiers who set her free to her own peril. She promised she would bring them to heel, only to weaponize the murder, the execution of Mitrice Richardson, not by the Glacier Donkeys. She had a bipolar episode. I want to say it was in Malibu. It's been a minute since I, read up on the story. Let's say Malibu. She had a psychotic break at one of those Malibu restaurants. Some of you may know the story, many of you may not. She was in Malibu having dinner, and this is a beautiful young sister with a master's. She had a bipolar episode at the restaurant. Some kind of way her granny got involved and offered to pay the bill. But instead of this white racist restaurant in Malibu allowing her grandma to pay the bill, that restaurant called the race soldiers, the cops with 3 Ks. They took her to jail. And when they spoke with her mother, they actually told her mother that they would hold her overnight because it was around 2 a.m. and her mother lived about 2 hours, maybe about 90 minutes away, somewhere down in like South Central is where her mother lived. And her mother asked if they would please, if they were not going to hold her overnight, she would try to make a way to get up there to get her out of jail. But because it was very dark, and it's very, very dark in Malibu, and some of these places, you know, very beautiful by day, but at night, hardly any street lights. They promised they would keep my Treese overnight. Around 2 a.m., they released the sister to her own devices with no phone, no shoes, and no car. I want to say it took them a couple of weeks to find her body. Now, oh, by the way, there was a man that saw her wandering around his property, and he actually called the race soldiers to let them know, to inform them that she was walking around looking lost. Okay. And these glacier donkeys allowed her to stay out there in the Malibu wilderness to her own peril. I think it took them 2 weeks to a month to find her body. So her father appealed to Kabami to actually bring these race soldiers up on charges because it was on the recording that her mother spoke to them and they promised to keep her overnight. Well, Kabami was running for the Senate. And so she weaponized what happened to my Treese to sheepwalk the people to the polls to elect her. And the minute she got senator, she told the father there was nothing to indict. Back to the text. Biden also nominated 2 prosecutors, Laura Crane and Veronica Sanchez, from the U.S. Attorney's Office in the district to serve as judges in D.C. Superior Court. Now, this is from an Alec Caracsanis. It's a very complicated last name. I did my best. He writes, or tweets rather, a quiet scandal is happening in D.C. Biden has nominated 3 brutal prosecutors as judges for local D.C. courts, including the same prosecutor Trump tried and failed to nominate to the highest court in D.C. If Congress allows this, it's a disaster for the people in D.C. Hold on. Moving forward to my slides. So Alex K, I'll just do that for short. That name has got me a little stumped. Is the founder, Walmart readers, hold on. Is the founder and executive director of Civil Rights Corps. Before founding Civil Rights Corps, Alec was a civil rights lawyer and public defender with the Special Litigation Division of the Public Defender Service for the District of Columbia, a federal public defender in Alabama, representing impoverished people, accused of federal crimes, naturally, and co-founder of the nonprofit organization Equal Justice Under Law. Most recently, he is the author of the book, Usual Cruelty. I have to put that on my book list. You should too. Hold on, I'm moving on. Now, he says, back to his tweet, each of Biden's nominees chose to devote their professional career to anti-science human caging policies that are unprecedented in history. That choice to use power and privilege to crush poor people was what made the highest ranking one appealing to Trump. I told you both parties suck, and I meant what I said. This is a protest vote I'm pushing, not a party thing. It is a Freedman flourishing thing. Back to the text. He goes on to say, I litigated for years against the office from which Biden selected the other two of these nominees. We proved rampant prosecutor misconduct, lying, sweeping ethics violations under the rug, complicitly with cop violence. Where have these nominees spoken publicly against this? Oh, sorry, hold on. I'm sorry, guys, I lost my place. Just a second. Next slide. Each of these nominees chose to work for years in an office that is responsible for DC caging Black people at a rate 19 times that of white people and almost exclusively poor people. Our courts are stacked with former prosecutors. They are stacked with people who, knowing the scientific consensus of evidence against human caging, still chose to devote their careers to ruthlessly crushing almost poor families without a shred of evidence. Without a shred of evidence that it did any good. People like this make us less safe. In addition to increasing crime, incarceration also kills us all. Mass incarceration policies reduced overall life expectancy of every American by 2 years. These prosecutors could have taken almost any job. Kabami, they could have chosen not to separate children, but they chose power. They chose to help police brutalize people when communities needed investment in care. And if Democrats don't stop it, they could be made judges. Oh no, not they could be, they will be. Okay? It's typically not seen as acceptable to speak these truths about the senseless damage prosecutors have done in the era of mass incarceration. But the consequences for people's bodies, minds, and families are profound. Okay, so let me share with you what Jimmy Dore, his final words, what he had to say about it. Stand by. This is Joe Crow's nominations that we're speaking of, family, not Trump's. Trump tried and failed. Let me see here. Moriaga, I see your hand. Let me play this part and then I'll let you speak. Oh, I see Congressman Marcel Dixon in the building. What an honor and a privilege to have you here. So thankful. Remember, guys, donate to the campaign. Because why? What have I taught you? Even if the Democrats rob him again, he keeps reparations on their jugular and won't let these glacier donkeys sleep. And that's what we're paying for by and large. So please donate and I will share with you his Cash App because we need to make sure he can support himself as he runs on the issues closest to our hearts. Okay, stand by. Let me play this. Stand by.
Great linguist. You gotta vote for Joe Biden if you're moral. That is such bullshit. Voting for Joe Biden delays progress. Voting for Joe Biden is voting for a right-wing, warmongering enemy of the people who likes to cage Black and brown people. That's who Joe Biden is. And don't fucking kid yourself. Don't kid yourself that you did the right thing to vote for Joe Biden, because you fucking didn't. You voted for evil, and it wasn't a lesser. It was the greater evil. Just like Bill Clinton was the greater evil than Bob Dole. and George Herbert Walker Bush, Bill Clinton was the greater evil because those guys couldn't do the things that Bill Clinton did. George Herbert Walker Bush could not get NAFTA passed. Guess who did? Bill Clinton. George Herbert Walker Bush could not decimate welfare. Guess who did? Bill Clinton. Bob Dole could not have deregulated Wall Street that would crash our economy within 10 years and hurt who? The worst? Black and brown people. You know who did that? Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton exploded the prison population. You know who couldn't do that? George Herbert Walker Bush. Bill Clinton did that. Put 100,000 cops on the street with draconian laws for drugs and filled our prisons with black and brown people. So Joe Biden was not the lesser of two evils. Just like Bill Clinton was not the lesser of two evils. Do you think they would let Donald Trump start saber rattling with two nuclear powers, China and Russia? You don't think people would be afraid? They would be. But nobody's afraid because they think Joe Biden's the grown-up. Joe Biden is demented, and he's been a warmonger his whole life, and they've been lying to you about everything since they got in office. They're lying about everything.
Jimmy, these people got upset when Trump didn't saber rattle.
That's
right. Times when he didn't, they were like, "What?"
They're like, "Why won't Trump bomb Syria more?"
I remember Fareed Zakaria. Whenever Trump did, I can't remember who he bombed, but today he is a president.
He became president today because he bombed Syria.
That is how you become president.
That is. Come see our stand-up comedy.
All right, family. There you have it. This is why I'm holding this space until we reach critical mass and move as a block to bring these Democrats to their knees. Moriaga, go ahead. Bless the mic.
Hey, Miss Angela, how are you?
Thank you. Blessed and unstoppable. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a minute. No, I came in the room when I heard you talking about, the need for our people to be more political mature. I think I've been saying that forever. I don't know, kind of like annoyed and exhausted because personally I feel like we haven't had even the people that are already in office actually take anything seriously. I see a lot of like disrespect coming from our community, and I take that kind of thing and I look at it like, if you can't relate to our community when you aren't in a position, right? And you're being disrespectful when you're talking to your maybe constituents that they're not even your constituent base yet. It's kind of like, for me, that's just a no-go. And I've seen that prevalent within reparations or supposed reparations candidates, which I don't like. There's a lot of for me, what I've seen, a lot of deflection, and people need to understand that if these people are reparations candidates, it behooves them and us to want to push reparations. So, because it only wakes up our people. So even if you don't win, how many people in that time did you wake up? And so my frustration with all of these candidates has been none of that. And since we're talking about political maturity again, I expect more.
I totally agree, sis. Do know that now that we've made reparations a household name, there are a lot of folks who weaponize it. This is nothing new. Our never-ending Holocaust is forever being weaponized against us to give the bag to white folks and immigrants. This is all by design. It's intentional, not benign. It is intentional. And yes, I understand your exhaustion. I have to not only fight my own people, I got to fight Racebook. I got to fight ScrewTube. Probably going to have to fight Twitter as soon as, this room really builds in numbers. This is just my second day on Twitter Space because ScrewTube shut me down. And I had to do something to continue to lean in on this messaging because we need immediate solutions. And one of the things we need most is to get off the front line of the guillotine. You see, sadly enough, the Democrats have become the guillotine. while pretending to give a damn about Black folks, while telling you they've got the unmitigated gall since Barack Obama to tell you straight no chaser, I'm not doing nothing specific for you and nothing will fundamentally change. And 86% of us still turn out the vote. And so I needed a solution. Reparations is the long game. What are we going to do in the short term? And as far as I'm concerned, the only way clearly to get the Democrats to pay attention is to fire all of them. At least the ones who are for this open border bull, because that's our most imminent threat. We've got the highest rates of homelessness, unemployment, and underemployment. Our median income is $41,000, I think, 40K, with a median home price of $500,000. I'm going to bring you in future segments this week about how China is buying up Florida and California. There's not a day that goes by that I don't get calls from folks trying to buy my property right out from under me. I would love to capitalize on the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equity I'm sitting on, but where would I go if the homes down here are $1 million? Okay, so this is what I prayed over after we were sheepwalked to the polls to vote this bullshiggity in office last election cycle from would-be reparations organizers not. They told us to go out here and vote dim down the ticket. So while I didn't vote for Joe Crow, I did exactly as I was instructed. But when you know better, you do better. And that's what I'm over here to do. Did anyone want to weigh in? There's Tamara Johnson-Shealy. Let her bless the mic. Go ahead, sis. Bless the mic for us, love.
Miss Says, can I say one more thing? Just one more thing. Activists and politicians are two totally different things. We don't need our politicians to be activists. And that's what we've been seeing with the performative stunts and, the BBC getting together, basically throwing protests. No, what we need you to do is your job. And those two worlds I see colliding within the Black liberation movement. And that's another thing that needs to stop. That's it. Thank you, Ms. Ange.
Thank you for sharing. Go ahead, Tamara. Bless the mic.
Well, I want to say, first of all, Angela, oh my gosh, when I saw you post and that you were back out here, I was excited. Make sure you reach out to me. September is going to be a good month. I can do some stuff for you. So make sure let's talk and get some stuff done in September. But I just want to say thank you for not being silent and continuing to be a voice in this movement. And, I see my brother Marcel. When I tell y'all that this election season, I'm going to tell you, as a candidate, Marcel, I hope you come up and say a few words as well before Angela close the room out. But, running is no small feat. When I tell you I'm an activist at heart. I'm real clear about I'll get in the streets and protest, but I also know how to pull up and be inside of these legislative halls and get things done on that level as well. So I get it. And I just want to say thank you, Angela, for all that you're doing. I'm not going to say a whole lot. I'm actually in the middle of lunch, but thank you for all that you're doing. And we do have to weaponize. Georgia is our race here. My race here in Georgia, it's not over. We have some discrepancies, anomalies on both sides of the aisle here in Georgia, the Democrats and the Republicans. It was straight up cheating, y'all, just to be honest. Marcel could speak to that too. In Fulton County, for example, 42,000 votes, a discrepancy of 42,000 votes, when only they counted 112,000 votes, but only 70,000 votes were actually cast. So there's 42,000 votes in Fulton County. They don't even know who the hell or where the hell they came from. So that just shows you the games that they're playing, but that does not negate the fact that we can't continue to fight. So Angela, I'm with you when you say weaponize this. We got to keep showing up. We got to let them know we are not going to go away and we are a force to be reckoned with. So thank you, Angela, for all you're doing. And I'll yield the mic.
Boy, I tell you, it's so awesome to have you over here, Sis Star. Many of you don't know that it was Congresswoman Tamara Johnson-Shealy who, yes, and Overstand family, I know folks are like, well, why don't they run for something smaller? Because we've got a justice claim on the federal level, and we need the likes of Tamara Johnson-Shealy, Greg Marcel Dixon, and whomever's running to run for the top of the food chain, because that's where the pocketbook is in Congress, okay? In the Senate specifically. And so if Trump, reality TV star can become president, then I don't know why we discount our reparationist candidates running for the Senate. I really don't understand that. And I it's not for me to understand. It's for me to support them in every way that I can. And that's what I intend to continue doing. And if you're smart, you'll do the same. But Tamara Johnson Shealy and I started in the reparations movement around 2019. And she had me as a co-host on one of her broadcasts. She's also got a broadcast. I don't know how active she is with that broadcast, but she's got an amazing broadcast. And she had me on not once, but twice. And she is the reason I even started going live. She encouraged me. She poured into me when we were at the inaugural conference for the former ADOS movement. Tamara was there to hold my hand and show my non-technical behind how to go live. I'm still struggling technically, but this is a sister that breathed life into my voice. And she wouldn't stop. She wouldn't give up on my voice and the importance of it in this reparations space. So it's always a pleasure to have you here and for you to bless the mic. Yes, there's a lot of chicanery going on. And I know, Moriaga, you would like to see the worlds be separate, but that's not the way it's ever worked. You see, our staunchest advocates and activists were the ones to run for office from the very beginning. These are the ones that stood up for our people. And that's no easy feat. So just like the church and the state aren't separate, just like the church and the politics aren't separate, we can't separate the advocacy, the activists, and our elected officials. It's just impossible, especially when you've been like ones that actually have the courage to go forward. I don't know anybody more courageous than these two right here. They're in it for the long haul. Like I said, there's a bunch of pretenders who will say they're in support of HR 40. Tamara and I disagree on HR 40, and it's okay. We can lovingly agree to disagree. I'm cool with it. It makes me know, never mind. Okay? I want to decimate it. She has her reasons for supporting it, but I digress. And I lost my train of thought. So maybe it's time for Professor Smiles to bless the mic. Professor Smiles, bless the mic, fam. Bless the mic while I get my thoughts together, honey.
Yes, thank you, Sister Reparations Perspective. And I want to say thank you, Sister Tamara, for uplifting Sister Reparations to bring her voice to this. Definitely something that we all must try to fight for is reparations. So thank you so much for encouraging her. We love to listen to what she has to say. She's bringing it. And I mean, she's bringing the fire the way it needs to be brought. Now, with that being said, y'all, I have to apologize to everybody in the room because I was one of these Black Americans that went to the polls like an idiot and voted for the Joe Crow. And I regret that vote. Like a lot of people, I fell for the hook, the line, and the sinker. He talked about the student loan debt cancellations. He talked about the police reform. These were two issues that were very important to me. And it's what got me into saying, okay, I'm gonna vote for the guy. But at the same time, part of it was too, I just didn't like Trump. And I know I don't like the Republicans because they practically basically tell us every day they don't like us. So that's where it came from when I went to the polls and voted for this guy. But as Sister Reparations has said, when you know better, you do better. So next time, it's going to be about somebody who's all about reparations and somebody who's really about our issues. Definitely reparations being the top issue, but also somebody that's going to speak on police reform because we see what Joe Crow is doing now. He's trying to bring in $37 million for more police to come into our communities, because you already know whose community they're coming to. And this is a disgrace when we have completely told these folks, these Democrats, that we want police reform. We want that qualified immunity. We want the police to have that stripped. We need to have the qualified immunity stripped away from them. And I don't understand why we can't seem to get nothing done on this. I remember hearing that Cory Booker, I think, was the top guy on this, I think. And then I think it was the guy out of South Carolina. Golly, what's his name?
You're talking about Tim
Scott. Yes. Yep. He was the other guy. It was him and Cory Booker who was supposed to be headlining.
And don't forget Karen Bass's ass out of California.
Yes, that's right.
Who's now running for mayor.
Yes. So I'm just wondering, what in the world did these folks do with this bill that they was supposed to be working on? Where is it at? You know, like, have they even sat down, talked about it? Has anything been put together at all on this? Has anybody heard anything else about this police reform? But I mean, we really need to get this passed. And I land my mic there.
Thank you, fam, for blessing the mic. No, family, that's just dead in the water, fam. That's dead in the water because they were never really intending to do anything with it. They claim they reached a stalemate and couldn't resolve that piece on ending qualified immunity, I think was the rub for the repugnant clans. So it went nowhere, but it was not ever really intended to go anywhere. That was symbolic to get us sheep walking to the polls. And that's why I say I'm all talked out, that I refuse to have any more conversations with the Democrats. No, baby, we can't wait for tangibles. You got nothing coming. If this administration is not in the hitting half of y'all's asses, I don't know what is. The Democrats lie about tangibles. The repugnant clans don't owe you because you're not their loyal voter base. My strategy is for closed border and real reparations candidates, not the ones who are out here weaponizing it without even, they'll speak it out their mouths. Sure, I support HR 40. Well, it's easy to support HR 40 when there's no cash consideration because you would not include that in the HR 40 akin to all the other frou-frou law you got. You got programs in there that you can give away. Now, they haven't come up with programs because there's not even been a study. Basically, the way these things work is if they study this shit into perpetuity, then they decide how they're going to remedy you. And the thing that the grassroots movement insisted on, because we know how slick these Democrats are, was that cash be a part of those considerations in those final proposals. They're talking around cash so that they don't ever have to offer any. And that's exactly what they'll say if they don't take that edit. Y'all didn't ask for cash. Y'all pushed us to get this approved. You have to understand that before we, as the former ADOS movement, got involved in fighting, this thing has sat collecting dust for 30 years. And Narcan and Cobra, Pan-Africanists working with Sheila Jackson Lee, who is also of Jamaican descent, okay, who John Conyers, a freedman, gave to Sheila Jackson Lee to quarterback it. We made it relevant. We took it from something like 10 signatures to damn near 200. They're within 9 signatures to get this approved. And so we begged, we lobbied hard with Sheila Jackson Lee's office, and we tried to meet with NARC and Cobra. They didn't want those changes because why? They want this to be for all Blacks. Well, guess what, Black immigrants? We are your reparations. Your ancestors didn't build the wealth you're currently eating from. And this government has purposely put them above us so that we can have these stupid ass fights over who this justice claim belongs to. It's a damn shame that for a year down here in California, we had to fight over lineage-based reparations or reparations based on racism. What the hell are you talking about? Well, you can clearly see in the data who's the most oppressed, who is being executed by state sanction. For example, if we're here in California, I'm 200 liquid, US black, and you 60,000 liquid. Are you in the neighborhoods where the militarized race soldiers are executing unarmed black men, women, freed men, women, and children with impunity? Or if you're 60,000 liquid, do you actually have access to whiteness? Because some of you identify as white to take more resources from American freedmen. So, in the words of Congressman Greg Marcel Dixon, they're lying about our numbers even. We're about 65, 70 million. They're lying to make us believe, and this is what they did even to those of us who were native to the soil before the Mayflower. Lying to you in the history, whitewashing it, not even teaching the truth. They're continuing to lie. And so you're absolutely right, Professor Smiles. When you know better, you do better. Hell, I voted for Barack Obama for 2 terms. But I had to forgive myself, get educated, dust myself off. You guys are in the right place because, honey, I don't hold no punches. And, you know, that's worked for and against me. But, you know, I continue to lean in because we have to wake the people up. And to Mariaga's point, it's exhausting work, but necessary work. When I get weary, I think about the ancestors and I feel like going on. And with that being said, let me get into this last article and then raise your hand because I got to close it out because I got to get dinner cooking, okay? So to Professor Smiles, he brought up the fact that Biden has earmarked, he said 37 million. No, boo, it's 37 billion with a B. Biden to outline. Oh, yes, sir.
37 billion?
Yeah, so in addition to those 3 justices that he's putting in the DC Superior Courts, which I just shared with you about, are nothing but Bull Connor and damn Strom Thurmond and Joe Crow. That's the spirit in which these prosecutors are being elected to the highest courts, the Superior Court, by Joe Crow. And it's definitely going down. He ain't never been a racist he didn't like. And as long as it oppresses us, he is cool with that. And that's why we got to make the Democrats pay, not just the midterms, but this has to be ongoing. We must vote for, until the spirit tells me otherwise, we've got to vote for closed border candidates and reparations candidates exclusively. Get off this thing about tangibles. You got nothing coming. Because when you're on this thing about tangibles, it makes you stay home because nobody's giving you tangibles. Nobody's giving you reparations. So what you're doing is suppressing your own vote. And you're leaving the fate of our lineage in the hands of immigrants who want to replace us and Crayola white supremacists who hate us. I refuse to do that to my daughter and your daughters and sons. They are relying on us to get the education to go out here and invoke a strategy. And what I know about the Democrats, when they got a trifecta, American freedmen are the only ones in distress. Back to the article. Now I'm going to be commentating in between. Biden to outline 37 billion funding request for crime prevention. Now, we all know that's code word for militarized race soldiers in our communities to execute us by state sanction and to scare the rest of us out of our communities for the sake of gentrification. Because you've got to put these Ukrainian neo-Nazis somewhere. You've got to put these Afghanistani refugees somewhere. You've got to put the Latinas somewhere. That means our extinction. That means they're working on their ethnogenocidal plans to extinct us to as few in numbers as the Indians. With our vote. Let that sink in. Back to the text. This is from July 21st, Reuters. I'm not going to call him President Joe Biden. He is Joe Crow with 3 Ks to me. That's how I'll be referring to him. That's not what the article is doing. This is Reuters if you want to look it up. Joe Crow will lay out plans on Thursday to ask Congress for $37 billion for crime prevention programs as he seeks to address one of the top concerns among Americans ahead of congressional elections in November. Me speaking. That's the operative words that are coming out of my mouth. ahead of congressional elections in November. So when you see him repeal a meager, paltry 15 million in debt, COVID debt relief to the Black farmers to hold on to their farms out of 9.2 billion, 6.7 billion having gone to the glacier donkey farmers, 100 million having gone to the Latino farmers, 76 million having gone to the Native American farmers, 17.6 million having gone to the Asian farmers. When you see him repeal the measly, paltry 15 million from the Black farmers so that their lands can be foreclosed on, when you see him appeal to Congress to be tougher on crime, because that's all this is again, part two, a continuation of Joe Crow's crime bill that's got over 2 million Black men on lockdown, many of whom are there for nonviolent offenses. He is appealing to the voters so that he could stay in office in 2024 and keep the Democrats in control. These moves are appeals to them, not American freedmen, whose back he claimed he have after 86% of y'all voted this bullshiggity into office. And I'm not placing blame. I overstand, Professor, why you did what you did. I've been, blind before, but now we see. And we're getting active. So I'm not here to be accusatory or to shame those who voted for Biden. I'm just simply making the case for reparations, weaponizing our vote, socializing our suffering. And I need you to help my message go viral because folks with bigger platforms are recklessly telling people, our people specifically, to stay home. They are suppressing the vote akin to the Democrats who are flooding the zone with immigrants to replace our vote, and the Republican clans who are gerrymandering all over the country, redistricting the whole 9 yards so that we won't even be able to vote. That's what these folks in new Black media with bigger platforms than mine are doing to American freedmen, recklessly as far as I am concerned. Back to the text. Joe Crow will outline details of his Safer America plan in a visit to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Me speaking, God gave me another thought. He's got no plans, and all this money he's been spending, all of our reparations dollars he's been spending, $60 billion to Ukraine, neo-Nazis, $350 million to AAPI and protections. Oh my God, I could go on and on. He repealed the $15 million that the Black farmers were going to have to save their, 1% of the farmlands they currently own. I mean, all the money spent on the U.S. war with Russia, because that's exactly what it is. All the money used to house, I hear that Eric Adams in New York is housing the illegals in luxury hotels, while our people are legislated out of New York, can't even afford to be there anymore, or they're part of the homeless population, which out here in California, it's now a crime. So Joe Crow doesn't spend money on our reparations. He doesn't spend money to bring jobs to our communities or to our states to give us specifically earmarked for American freedmen. He doesn't do anything to end homelessness other than allow the states to incarcerate us under the not so new slavery as part of the private prison industrial complex. He doesn't guarantee American freemen get employment. He doesn't write federal policies to make sure we get an American wage. But he got $37 billion to give to the race soldiers. And I just share with you about how in Atlanta, they're bringing a training camp right into Atlanta, a militarized glacier donkey race soldier training camp. And our people are going to be the target practice. Back to the text. The $37 billion will be included in his budget request to Congress for fiscal 2023, which begins October 1. His plans include $13 billion over the next 5 years to hire and train an additional 100,000 race soldiers, a White House fact sheet said. Me speaking, You have to understand that the only kind of immigrant they import are the ones who despise American freedmen down to our baby toe. And what you're seeing happening right now is that they can't really get enough recruits on the slave patrols, okay? They can't get enough recruits out of the U.S. Why is that, you ask? Not because they're not bloodthirsty to execute us with impunity, but now we get to record it and shame them in the nation and in the world, you see? Now they actually have to go to trial and serve a little bit of time. So they don't want to sign up if they now have to suffer consequences for executing unarmed freed men, women, and children. Because let's keep it a buck. We're the ones in the hood, not the black immigrants by and large. There's some overlap here and there, but by and large, that's American freedmen that they're executing. So now he wants 100,000 more police officers. Hold on one second, y'all. I'm sorry. Just a second. Hey, my buggy daughter, she knows I'm live. Okay, back to the text. Biden has long rejected some progressive Democrats' drive. Joe Crow has long rejected some progressive Democrats' drive to defund the police. Polls show Americans consider crime one of the top challenges facing the country, and Joe Crow is attempting to bolster Democrats in what are expected to be closely fought midterm elections in November that will determine whether they remain in control of Congress. Me speaking. Folks out here cheering that the FBI raided Trump. We know this raid is about them feeling threatened by a 24 Trump victory. And we got Democrats celebrating this. Well, remember when they celebrated when Trump was kicked off of Twitter? And I told the people in several broadcasts that when they kick the president off of Twitter, when they censor the president, what do you think is coming for you? I have since lost Facebook Spaces. I have since lost ScrewTube. I know folks, I think Connie, who was doing the Power 106 pull-up, she lost her Twitter. I'm going to do a whole nother day on that. This series is going to be long. And I mean, by the time we done with the Weaponize the Vote series, child, we might have a bazillion episodes of this. I'm going to record here and upload to ScrewTube as soon as they lift the ban on my channel. But do understand that all of this is because of the midterms. Nothing for you, the Democrats' most loyal voter base. Nothing for you, but they're doing everything to appeal to the white supremacists on the liberal side and on the conservative side. Back to the text. Joe Crow would spend $3 billion to help communities clear court backlogs for those not so new slaves in the private prison industrial complex, me speaking, and set up task force to share intelligence with an eye toward reducing gun violence. Of course they want, me speaking, to reduce gun violence. Take our guns. Take our guns. Not that the people they're executing have guns. These are unarmed freed men, women, and children. But they don't want us to have guns. But they can't get it done because we are American citizens, whether the Democrats like it or not, which means we fall under the Second Amendment. Get your power tools, keep them ready, learn to use them, family. We are at war. Back to the text. His plan would also impose tougher penalties for fentanyl trafficking amid an epidemic of drug overdoses. Me speaking. Not close these motherfucking borders, not even vet the Mickey Fickies you letting across the borders. Because they're the ones that are doing fentanyl, lacing the drugs in our community with fentanyl. But you see, white folks are dying in droves, and that looks messy for the oligarch, you understand? They can't have white folks dying from fentanyl overdoses, opioid, lacing it with fentanyl. They can't have it. You see, not only do they not give a damn about American freedmen, they don't give a damn about their own poor. So they give less of a damn about American freedmen, which is why we must bring them to their knees till God gives me another vision. Anywho, back to the text. Okay. To tackle organized retail theft, me speaking, you mean akin to that brother who stole some laundry detergent and the race soldiers executed him? Why are they stealing? They don't have jobs because you've given them to the immigrants. And please let me help you understand something, family. It's not just happening to the orange pickers, okay? This is happening all the way up the food chain to the executive corporate levels. We are being replaced. I've shared with you over on ScrewTube and many of my broadcasts about how they got rid of us, American freedmen, in these California banks from the retail level all the way up and through executive level management, brought in a whole bunch of immigrants to rob the consumers. Then they fired 5,000 of them while giving the CFO a $146 million golden parachute. You'd be hard pressed to go into a Wells Fargo bank in Southern California and see any American freedmen working. So are they simply hungry looking for something to eat? So you want to tackle that, but not tackle the issues of reparations and an end to qualified immunity. After y'all killed and stole it all. The wealth all y'all eat from. Back to the text. To tackle organized retail theft, the plan calls on Congress to pass legislation to require online marketplaces like Amazon to verify third-party sellers' information and to impose liability on online marketplaces for the sale of stolen goods on those platforms. Joe Crow's plan establishes a $15 billion grant program called Accelerating Justice System Reform that cities and states could use over the next 10 years to pursue strategies to prevent violent crime and to erase the burden on police by identifying nonviolent situations that may merit a public health response, the White House said. Well, you know what I say to reform, especially amongst the race soldiers, they know full well who they take alive. These mass murderers, they generally take them alive, especially when they're white, and especially if they're executing us. They take them alive. But when it comes to unarmed Black men, women, and children, freed men, women, and children in particular, they know clearly what they're doing. They're the slave patrol in 2022. And the FBI has already outed them. Back in 2006, they had a report that said, by and large, the majority of the police departments throughout the country have hired the KKK, the neo-Nazis, the skinheads, the Proud Boys. And the hate for us is Crayola. And so with that being said, I don't see any hands. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting me in my second space. Please, please, please help this recording to go viral. Let folks know we've actually got a Freedmen voter strategy to close border candidates and reparations candidates only. And I'll be back tomorrow with more puckery and to continue making the case for reparations, weaponizing our vote, and socializing our suffering. Until tomorrow, family, know that I love you black and strong, and that I'm sending you a ton of peace, love, and reparations, reparations, reparations. Ciao for now, family. Thanks.
I want to thank you guys for tuning back in for my second live for today. Well, overstand this, family. I went into Twitter space since ScrewTube shut me down for close to a month. And that's what I'm playing back to you guys, my illustrious subs over here on ScrewTube, Facebook, and even Twitter. I wasn't live in any of those spaces. I made a new home in Twitter space. And those are the voices you hear weighing in. So do know that daily when I go live, you're free to come into the space and chat and bless the mic. That's the best place to bless the mic. Or you can stay observing live online through any of those spaces. It's up to you. You could do a combination of both. That's what I learned from a couple of my viewers today. They were watching me in ScrewTube and weighing in on Twitter space. So it's just rich that you now have options, but I want to be able to read your chat to them, and I want you guys to be able to hear from them because they do have a place where they can chat, but they mostly like to get on the mic. So yeah, every day I'm trying to do both the live and catch up on the lives that happened last week before those recordings get erased. I want them in memorial in the Reparationist Perspective, in and on the Reparationist Perspective channel. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Some of you in the chat have been here for the first episode, the first broadcast. And so to come back a second time in different time zones all over the country, I'm just grateful, grateful, grateful that you are learning much through my content and that you're starting to catch on as to the dire importance to weaponize our vote and to socialize our suffering. We cannot continue to reward the Democrats for their ethno-genocidal plans to replace us. And we got no tangibles coming. It's been 60 years and promises of tangibles, and here we are on the bottom of the Titanic as the anchor of the country's capitalism. So the next thing you have to pivot to when you're looking at your vote and how to weaponize it is what is going to be in the best interest of my tribe. And right now, immigration being our most imminent threat makes neutralizing it our highest priority. I read to you some statistics and very important information on tonight's earlier broadcast concerning these issues. You know, that Black men in particular have severely been neutralized economically, and they are the cornerstone to keeping up the line. You know, they provide the seed to keep the line going. Without the Black man, we are nothing. We're finished as a lineage. And so there's been, these ethno-genocidal plans to make sure he doesn't get himself up, that he's not able to pull himself up by his bootless straps. And I know our brothers are going to defy that because they're doing it anyway. They have to survive. And so their survival instinct kicks in for us all when we've been discriminated against in this manner. And so do know without the freed man, he and his ability to earn, there's no freed women in marriage. There's no freed babies, or if they are, they're being largely raised by freed women. And so these are other ways to ethno-genocide the line, is to keep division going between us when truly at our core we love one another. But just like the Willie Lynch letter, which I hear is fiction, so I'm not going to live there, but They talk about breaking a slave, and it looks like it's still, whatever this thing was, that it's still looming over us like a horrible 400-year plague. Hi, Dorothy. Satra Delry 360, Trey Lincoln. Who else is over here? The Always Resist Arrest Initiative, Worldview, Easy Acts. Ain't seen you in a minute. Yeah, y'all in the building. Thank you so much. Ivy Dreams, Worldview. I think I said that. Strata. Thank you, guys. And for those who have yet to type in the chat, welcome, welcome, one and all. Facebook, Twitter, ScrewTube. So grateful to have you in the space. But yeah, family, it's late. It's around a little after 11, so I'm going to retire for the evening, as you guys need to as well. And I'm going to close us out. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. I will go early because we've got appointments at 5:30. So I won't be here for 6. I'm going to try to come on at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And then once again, follow up with day 3 of the Twitter space that you guys missed out on, simply because ScrewTube shut my channel down for close to a month. So with that being said, family, I want to pray us out, put that prayer of protection over my beautiful tribesmen and women. I want to assure you that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever Freedmen and its allies are, God truly is, because, family, you are the face of God. You are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. And if nobody's told you this today, family, know that I love you black and I love you oh so strong. Yes, I do. Until we meet again, family, I want you to make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your morning. And also, until we meet again later this afternoon, I'm bidding each and every one of us a ton of peace, love, and reparations, family. I'm out.